Hello, 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 ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully, you guys had a fantastic day. For you guys that don't know who I am, my name is Shook. I make NBA content, sports books, prize picks, all that good stuff. I also post sportsbook plays on Twitter. Um, if you ever just want to mess around, yeah. Posted a bunch today, and Ingram got ruled out. Look at this line. I never play juice props, but 7.5 is just wild. He got ruled out, and then I posted Wendell Carter Jr. unders. He got rolled out. So then I posted Steph Curry unders. But yeah, if you ever need to get a hold of me privately, you can get a hold of me on Twitter right here. And then as always, these posts get posted to Reddit, where I make updates with all the news that comes out throughout the day. You can ask me questions leading up to lock about the slate, so I will also have that linked down below. All right, let's go over my lineup from tonight. Ended up cashing tonight. I played on FanDuel too. We'll go over my FanDuel lineup in a minute, but the slate is still going on over there. But yeah, this is my lineup. I mainly just played Dallas. Like all of Dallas were just nukes. Played LaMelo, Jaden Hardy. My core for today was Jaden Hardy, Spencer Dinwiddie, Nikola Jokic, and at least one of Najee Marshall, Robert Williams. I went with both of them. And then my flag plants and GPPs were Franz Wagner and Karl Anthony Towns. I think Cat had a really good game, but Franz had a really bad first half, but ended up getting there in the end. So yeah, Jokic cost a lot of money, but if you didn't have any Alfred Payton, you just weren't banking. So not that big of a deal, but yeah, solid day over here, and then I'll show you guys my FanDuel lineup. So this is my FanDuel lineup. Don't Draftkings, or they don't actually. We're not on Draftkings, so I can't get banned. But FanDuel, don't ban me. This is after lock, after all the games started. This is my FanDuel lineup. Unfortunately, Watford is getting his minutes trolled, but he's Giga Chalk over there, as he should have been. This is my FanDuel lineup. Yeah, with LaMelo Ball, Kyrie Irving, Malik Beasley, Jaden Hardy, Scotty Barnes, Zaire Williams, who's having a pretty solid game. Franz Wagner, who ended up getting there, especially on FanDuel with the blocks and steals and stuff. P.J. Washington, who nuked, and then, yeah, Watford. Got a little bit hurt not having Jaden Ivey and not having Tyrese Halliburton. But luckily, LaMelo and Scotty Barnes kind of did their jobs there, and then Kyrie Irving salvaged at the end. So I believe I'll have a pretty good day on FanDuel as well. It's the 333. I will recap that tomorrow after the slate ends. You guys know I don't sweat my lineup, so I will show you guys how that finishes in tomorrow's video. All right, without further ado, we got a small slate today, and I believe we have a massive slate on Wednesday, I want to say. So get ready for that. Yeah, like every team playing on Wednesday, so that's going to be really, really hectic. But we have the cup games for tomorrow. So you might see some teams get extended a little bit, but most teams outside of like the Celtics haven't really been extending players too much with the cup and stuff. So I don't really change my strategy for the cup games. Unless it's like certain teams like the Celtics, I might give everyone like an extra minute or two in projections, but I don't really change things too much. I don't think you should either. And I think if most sites will probably have stuff baked in if they think that way, but I generally don't. All right, yeah. I think you're definitely gonna want some of this first game right here. Two fast-paced teams. Chicago, the fastest-paced team in the league. Two teams that just don't play defense. We have Patrick Williams still out. Lonzo Ball is going to be doubtful for this one. Yeah, I think you're definitely going to want pieces of this game. I think everyone here I love. Like, I would assume I wouldn't be worried about their minutes from last game. Donovan said that he wasn't happy with how they played their minutes on the back-to-back. How he played Io and Kobe close to 40 minutes each, so he limited their minutes in that back-to-back game. So I would assume they go back up to massive minutes here. So with that being said, I mean, I have interest in all five starters. I think all five look fantastic. I think Vooch looks fantastic at 8-2. I absolutely love Zach LaVine at 7.8K. Kobe White is a really good play at 7K. Josh Giddey I like quite a bit. I would assume was a really good value at 5.5K. We do have Julian Phillips back, so that's going to hurt. Like Montez Buzelis a little bit. I still think he's a solid contrarian value. Depending on what his ownership's going to be, I still think he'll be a pretty solid part of this rotation, especially with how he played last game. So I like Montes for value. We'll see what his ownership comes in at. If he's like Giga Chalk tomorrow, you could definitely easily fade that. But yeah, I think the 5 starters look great here. If I had to rank them point per dollar, I'd probably go Io 1, Levine 2, Vooch 3, Kobe White 4, Josh Giddey 5, but you could flip them all. I think Giddey's just my least favorite point per dollar, but I think they all look fantastic. And then, yeah, Buzelis, I think is solid for value. You saw THT in the rotation last game because they cut down on Kobe and Io. He could go back to basically being a DMP. And then you'll see some like Julian Phillips as well at the Flatman price, but I'm not going to go there. You also see some Dalen Terry. Don't know if he didn't DMP last game. But yeah, I would expect THT to go back to basically DMPing here, and then the main guys getting their minutes upticked back to where they should be. Everyone looks great here. And then moving on to the Washington side, I mean, we have to keep an eye on Jordan Poole news. This is really big news. If he is out like he was last game, they went with the starting lineup of Malcolm Brogdon, Bilal Coulibaly, Kyle Kuzma, Sarr, and then Keyshawn George. They entered into the starting lineup. So, like, say we get that similar situation that happened that game that we get today. I mean, I think you got to like a lot here. First off, Kyle Kuzma at 6.3K. I know he had a really bad game last game. Don't care. I really like Kyle Kuzma. I think Coulibaly is a really solid play. He's just going to play massive minutes. No Poole, more usage to go around. Brogdon, assuming he starts again at 5.6K. I would expect around 25 to 30 minutes. I think he's still solid point per dollar play. Assuming Jordan Poole is out and we get like Keyshawn George starting again at 4.2K. I really like him for value. I think Corey Kispert's firmly in play. Sarr at 5K has a ceiling, but the floor is a lot lower. I think he's decent for value. Jonas Valanciunas, I think, is a solid value. She'll play 15 to 20 minutes. Great point per minute. Great spot here. Bub should play around 20 minutes off the bench. I think he's probably my least favorite, but there's just a ton to like in this game. If we get Jordan Poole in, then yeah, I really like Jordan Poole. I still really like Kyle Kuzma. It would be downgrades like Coulibaly and Brogdon, would still be firmly in play. And then Keyshawn George will go back to the bench. And still would like the bigs, though. But yeah, you're definitely going to want some interest in this game, especially if Jordan Poole gets rolled out. All right, let's move on to Milwaukee at Miami. So depending on value, as it stands right now, we don't have a ton of value on this slate, so it might be tough to be honest. But as always, he's the best spent up on the board, especially with, I feel like LeBron's going to be somewhat popular tomorrow if we don't have value. He's been like the chalk default so far this year, but Giannis definitely my preferred spend up on the board if you are spending all the way up. Don't think we have to take too much time there to talk about Giannis. I think Dame is a little bit too cheap at 8.9K. Tough matchup here going up against Miami. They are a little bit, what's the word I'm looking for? They are a little bit adverse to giving up a ton of three-pointers, but yeah, I don't mind Dame there. Looking at like price range around him, I can give you guys some guys I'd rather play around him. I suppose there's not much. You have Booker, Phoenix is getting healthier. Anthony Edwards, I do prefer Dame, and then yeah, there's not much. I think I prefer Vooch point per dollar to Dame easily. So Dame's kind of in this like standalone place of like himself. I think he's decent. Keep an eye on the Taurean Prince news. If he is out, I would expect Gary Trent to just move into the starting lineup. Gary Trent would be a really solid value at 4.1K. He'd have to play a ton of minutes. Taurean Prince is playing close to 40 minutes a game. Would be a ton of minutes to go around. Then you might see like a little bit more Andre Jackson. His minutes have been a little bit volatile, even though he's been starting. And then Brook Lopez, I think it's a good spot for him at 6K. Like I said, guy's going to chuck from 3. Miami, they've been, I don't want to say, well, I guess three-point shooting's kind of been a liability to them. That's kind of what Brook Lopez does. And he's playing 40 minutes a game, so I think it's an intriguing, sneaky GPP play tomorrow that I don't think a ton of people are going to be on. And I think Bobby Portis at 5.5K is solid, too. I think the price point's finally down where we can start considering, and you might see a little bit more if Taurean Prince is out. So, and then Prince himself at 4.2K, no issue there. I think he's a fair value. Yeah, you're not going to get excited about playing Taurean Prince with the team healthy, though. All right, let's move on to Miami. We have Terry Rozier probable, but he was probable last slate, and he ended up getting rolled out that slate. And they went with they just moved Duncan into the starting lineup. So if we get like Terry Rozier out again, I like Duncan quite a bit as a value play in GPPs. and I don't care about this game. He got into foul trouble and he got benched, but the ceiling is absolutely massive for a guy like Duncan Robinson. When he is shooting well, he has the opportunity to have his minutes get up to like 30 plus minutes, and then that's when he's really going to have a ceiling game. So if Terry Rozier gets rolled out, I really like Duncan Robinson tomorrow in GPPs. I also don't think he's going to be like Giga Chalk. We'll see though. But yeah, if Rozier's out, I really like Duncan Robinson, assuming he moves back in his starting lineup. They also want like the hot hand. We saw Pele Larson gain minutes from Duncan foul trouble, Alec Burks, etc. They'd be playable values. We'll see what their ownership comes in at, but I would only consider them if Terry Rozier is out. Alec Burks, good point per minute guy as well. Kevin Love played a lot more in the first half because Bam Adebayo got into foul trouble. Fine value. I'm not going to play Haywood Highsmith. And then, yeah, like Butler at 7-8, that price point. Probably my favorite play on Miami outside of like Duncan if we get Terry Rozier out. And then Bam Adebayo has a ceiling at 8.5. Nothing amazing here. Definitely my favorite play would be Duncan if Terry Rozier gets out. And then if Terry plays, downgrade to everyone. I think it'd be fine with like Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo. Wouldn't really love the value. All right, moving on to Houston's. We got to keep an eye on Jalen Green. If he is out, Amin Thompson shoots up to one of the best value plays on the board. I already really like him for value. I've been high on Amin Thompson pretty much every slate. It's just like the upside with him is massive. The minutes, he has a lot of range of outcomes with his minutes, but should normally play low 20s minutes. The price point hasn't moved. Can rack up blocks, can rack up steals, can get rebounds. Definition of a statute stuffer, and he has the not likely outcome, has the range of outcomes of playing around 30 minutes. You can get guys in foul trouble, etc. They can go with the hot hand with like Jabari, Dillon Brooks. So yeah, I really like Amin Thompson regardless. And then if Jalen Green's out, he's going to shoot up to one of the best plays in the slate. So I'd really like Amin Thompson there. And then Tari Eason's probably at the price point to where I think he should be at 5.8K. And then if Green's out, a lot more usage for like Sengun, Fred VanVleet. Those two guys, I think they're decent. I would like them a lot more if Jalen Green doesn't get ruled out. And then Jabari Smith, I mean, the most frustrating roster. I believe I played him here, so like the next game he nukes it. This is the ceiling. Like he can play himself into a lot more minutes. He can also get benched, especially if it's like a blowout. I would say normally he plays around 30 minutes, which does make him a solid value as the slate stands right now. But like I said, a lot of range of outcomes there. And Dillon Brooks, I think, is playable as well. I don't mind Dillon Brooks. If no more value opens up, I do think he's solid for value on this slate. And yeah, like Sengun, like Fred, but they would look a lot better if Green is out. A tough matchup here for Minnesota. We have Mike Conley questionable. If he's out, Dante DiVincenzo started last game over Nickeil Alexander-Walker. And then you saw basically just Nickeil and Naz Reid off of the bench. And then Dillingham played a bit as well. All right, so if Mike Conley is out, Dante DiVincenzo going to play a lot more, probably around 30 minutes. You know, statute stuffer, going to have the ball in his hands a decent amount. Would like his peripheral stats to be up a little bit more with no Mike Conley, but still a decent point per dollar play if Mike Conley is out. Still playable regardless, though. And I like Rudy Gobert quite a bit at 6.6. I think the price point is just too cheap. For how many minutes he's playing this season, just probably going to get you like 35 fantasy points, which at this price point you take all day long, and he has a ceiling for like 45 plus. So yeah, I think Rudy Gobert is definitely a pretty good play on this slate. And then Ant I like as a spend up. Not my favorite spend up on the board, but still like. And then Randall is just there for me, always just there. McDaniels I think is priced right at 5.2K, but the good thing with him is he has to play all the minutes he can handle, but the bad thing with him is he's always in foul trouble, and now he's priced up. So, yeah. And then NAW would be viable if Mike Conley's out. Still viable regardless, but would prefer Mike Conley out. And then if Mike's in, I like Mike, assuming no limits. And then all these other values kind of just feel like they're just there. They're priced right. And then Naz Reid, I think, is decent too at 5K. She'll play low to mid 20s minutes. Great point per minute off the bench. He does seem a little bit too cheap. So, do like Naz Reid. It's kind of similar to like a Amin Thompson if Jalen Green's in, although I'd probably prefer Amin Thompson to be honest. All right, this game, I think another game you need interest in. Wemby, first game back, played his normal minutes. It's a great spot going up against Utah. I absolutely love Victor Wembanyama tomorrow. If you can't fit Giannis, I think Wemby's the next best thing. Love Wemby tomorrow in this spot. Great spot for him. Chris Paul at 6.3K gets a bump playing alongside Wemby. Novoselic, he's going to have to do a little bit more. I think he's a really good point per dollar play. Keldon Johnson's going to be back, so that's going to hurt like the bench of like not the bench. The other guys down here have like Champagny. I do think Castle's pretty locked into big minutes, so I'm not too worried about that, especially with Vassell out. He's been really good. I don't mind him, although I think I prefer like an Amen Thompson. But similar price point. I think it's definitely my favorite value for the Spurs. Champagny's playable. Harrison Barnes is playable. Not excited about it, but playable. And then with Wemby back, I'm not going to get to 5.2K John Collins, or Zach Collins. Apologies. We're about to go over John Collins in a second. All right, moving on to Utah. Jordan Clarkson and Filipowski are going to be out. So, keyword, you should see a lot more minutes for Colin Sexton. But I believe Clarkson was out this game and he only played 24 minutes. And then both of them healthy, he plays 40. Now, I don't think we're going to get around 40 minutes again from Colin Sexton, but you should see low 30s minutes for him, making him a really good play. So I'm really high on Colin Sexton. John Collins is still too cheap at 7.3K. We do have Walker Kessler back, though. I believe played 35 minutes on the in his first game back as well. Just crazy. But rates at the 4 for Collins compared to the 5. We can just pull up the rotation together and take a look at it for last game. Yeah, John Collins' rates, like I said, at the 4 compared to the 5 are going to be a lot worse. I still have interest in John Collins. I still like him quite a bit. But if we're going to get mid-30s minutes from Walker Kessler with no Kyle Filipowski, he is way too cheap. The only problem is tough matchup here going up against Wemby, but he's around a fantasy point per minute guy. You give him 35 minutes, yeah, looks pretty good to me. They could always troll, right? But feel a little bit more confident with no Filipowski. What else? With no Clarkson, you should see a bit of Isaiah Collier off the bench. He's a viable dart in GPPs. And then, yeah, I think Keontae George is too cheap at 5.5K as well. And Markkanen's decent too. So, unfortunately, I think you have to consider some Utah tomorrow. I think they look pretty damn good. I would say Collins probably my least favorite with Walker Kessler back. Yeah. So, yeah, I think that's going to do it for Utah. Let's move on to the last game of the night. Lakers at Phoenix. Yeah, 80 looks great at 10.5. I give the edge to Wemby, though. But, yeah, I think it's very, very close. You could always just go to the lower owned one in GPPs. And LeBron's role has just been phenomenal. I'm not going to say no if you want to play LeBron tomorrow. I feel like he's going to be chalk. He's been chalk every single slate. I'm not going to say no if you want to. Personally, not my favorite spend up on the slate. I think it's Giannis. I think it's Wemby. But no issues with either of them. Reeves at 6.6K. Don't mind. And then Connect at 5-1 is definitely overpriced with Rui back. Rui didn't play much last game. Playable. And then I like D'Lo once again for value. He continues to. I thought he smashed this game, but she'll play around 20 minutes. He's 4-5, massive ceiling, especially if he plays himself into more minutes. So like some D'Lo and GPPs. And then Phoenix basically a cross off. You have Kevin Durant, you have Beal back. Booker takes a hit. Yeah, all the value basically out of play for me. So, not much to talk about there. Alright guys, hopefully you guys had a fantastic night tonight, and I will talk to y'all in tomorrow's video, and I'll let you know how FanDuel goes.